Vale, segunda parte. Se ha liado muchísimo el juego. Lo estoy dando seguido porque no quiero tampoco volver a hacerlo. A ver si me saltara algo, no sé qué. Vamos a continuar, o sea, se ha liado tanto.
I say forget the adventure line. What's it ever done for us? We're intelligent people, right? Why can't we make up our own story? Something exciting.
Eso, venga. Inventemos nuestra propia historia, joder.
This all sounds perfectly doable. Why don't we simply start wandering in, well, I don't know. How about this direction?
Solo tenemos esta puerta. Prosigamos por ella a ver lo que hay.
Now, yes, this is exciting. Just me and Stanley forging a new path, a new story. Well, it could be anything. What do you want our story to be?
Estaba dando vueltas.
Use your imagination. Whatever it might be, Stanley, I'm...
Volvemos a donde estábamos antes. ¿Qué te apuestas? ¿Qué te apuestas, seguro?
Oh, no, not you again. Stanley,
La línea.
I'd
Ha
also
vuelto.
like to veto the line from
Lol.
having any role in our awesome new story. No lines or monitor rooms. Just don't acknowledge it, and we should be fine.
Simplemente no le haga caso a la línea. Vale, continuamos sin hacerle caso a la línea. Vale. Por ahí no podemos tirar. Por el simple hecho de que no puedo saltar.
Ah, a choice. We get to make a decision. From here, the story is in our control. How important we mustn't squander the opportunity.
Ahora no tenemos que arreglarlo.
In fact, I believe I need a minute to think here. Just walk in circles for a minute.
Caminar en círculo.
Okay.
Vale.
So I know that
Caminamos en
each door
círculos.
has to lead somewhere, which means
Es lo más divertido que me ha hecho
somewhere
hacer un
in the
juego.
place where we're trying to go,
Desde
there
capturar a
must be
un
a
rato hasta el
reverse
principio
door
en
that
Pokémon.
is here. And that in turn means that our destination corresponds with the counter-inverted reverse door's origin. So starting from the right, let us ask, will taking the right door lead us to where we're going? And since the answer is clearly yes, then by all accounts, the door on the right is the correct one. Another victory for logic. Come, Stanley, our destiny awaits.
Hombre, solo nos abre una puerta. No podemos hacer nada. Ué.
Oh, hold up, what's this? The confusion ending. You're telling me that's what this is?
Esto es todo lo que hemos hecho. Es verdad que ha habido una pechada.
Eight times? That's really how all this goes?
8 veces.
It's all determined? So now, according to the schedule, I restart again. Then what? Am I just supposed to forget? Well, what if I don't want to forget? My mind goes blank simply because it's written here on this thing, wall. Well, you consulted me.
¡Ostras! ¡Qué lío, ¿no?
Get a say in all of this. Is it really? No,
O sea, hubiera dado igual que puerta, ¿no?
I don't want the game to keep
Hubiera dado igual
restarting.
la
I
puerta.
don't want to forget what's going on. I don't want to be trapped like this.
No vamos a
I
reiniciar el
won't
juego.
restart the game.
No,
I
no,
won't
no.
do it. I won't do it. I won't do it. And the timer stopped.
¿Eh?
Does that mean did we do it? Did we break the cycle? The
Hostia, que me
whatever
rollo,
it
¿no?
is that made this schedule? How would we even know? Will someone come for us? Will something happen?
¿Pasará algo?
So, okay.
No puedo abrir la puerta.
I guess now we just wait. You know, I suppose in some way that this is a kind of story. Wouldn't you agree? I'm not quite sure if we're in the destination or the journey, though they're always saying that life is about the journey and not the destination. So I hope that's where we are right now.
Eventualmente.
We'll find out, won't we? Eventually.
Y está
Well,
así.
in the meantime...
¡Ah! ¡Hostia! ¡Hostia, qué susto! ¡No veo! ¡Ay! ¡Ay, mi corazón! ¡Ay! No sé, me parecía raro que hubiera ahí una silla. Digo, a ver si clicando... ¡Ay! ¡Uf! No hay línea.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Están las puertas cerradas. Todo normal. Hay dos puertas.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Entramos a la puerta a la izquierda.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
Ir arriba, a la oficina de mi jefe.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Not today. Un coche.
But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss, admitting he had left his post during work hours. He might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished.
¡Oh!
His boss would think he was crazy. And then
¿Mierda?
something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. All of my co-workers blinking mysteriously out of existence in a single moment. No reason at all. None of it made any logical sense. And as Stanley pondered this, he began to make other strange observations. For example,
estamos en un ciclo.
his feet when he looked down? Why did doors close automatically behind him
Va a pasar
wherever
algo.
he went? And for that matter, these rooms were starting to look pretty familiar. Were they simply repeated?
12B4.
No, Stanley said to himself,
Por
this
si
is
acaso.
all too strange. This can't be real. And at last, he came to the conclusion that had been on the tip of his tongue. He just hadn't found the words for it. I'm dreaming, he yelled. This is all a dream.
Esto es un sueño.
What a relief Stanley felt to have finally found an answer, an explanation. His co-workers weren't actually
Yo
gone.
no estoy loco, ¿no?
He
Pero...
wasn't going to lose his job. He wasn't crazy after all.
¿No
He
te
thought
hace
to
ahí
himself,
tirada?
I suppose I'll wake up soon. I'll have to go back to my boring real-life
El
job.
coche de
pushing
nuevo.
buttons. I may as well enjoy this while I'm still lucid.
La
So,
taza.
he imagined himself flying and began to gently float above the ground.
¡Buah!
Then he imagined himself soaring through space on a magical starfield, and it too appeared. It was so much fun, and Stanley marveled that he had still not woken up. How was he remaining so lucid? And then perhaps the strangest question of them all entered Stanley's head. One he was amazed he hadn't asked himself sooner. Why is there a voice in my head dictating everything that I'm
Por
doing?
ejemplo, ¿no? O sea,
Now the voice was describing itself being considered by Stanley, who found it particularly strange. I'm dreaming about a voice describing me, thinking about how it's describing my thoughts, he thought. And while he thought it all very odd, and wondered if this voice spoke to all people in their dreams, the truth was that, of course, this was not a dream.
me estoy liando muchísimo, ¿eh?
Was Stanley simply deceiving himself, believing that if he's asleep, he doesn't have to take responsibility for himself? Stanley is as awake right now as he's ever been in his life. Now, hearing the voice speak these words was quite a shock to Stanley. After all, he knew for certain
No llevamos en un
that this
bucle
was
5
in fact a
minutos.
dream. Did the voice
Mínimo.
not see him float and make the magical stars just a moment ago? How else would the voice explain all that? This voice was a part of himself too. Surely, if he could just... He would prove it. He would prove that
Del bucle
he was
este, la
in
parte que me da
control,
más mal rollo es la
that
del
this was
coche.
a dream. So he closed his eyes gently, and he invited himself to wake up. He felt the cool weight of the blanket on his skin, the press of the mattress on his back.
Estamos
The
durmiendo.
fresh
Me
air
da
of
miedo.
the world
Ay,
outside
tengo
this
que no mirar.
Let me wake up, he thought to himself.
No
I'm
quiero
through
mirar.
with this dream. I wish it to be over. Let me go back to my job. Let me continue pushing the buttons. Please. It's all I want.
No quiero mirar.
I want my apartment, and my wife, and my job. All I want is
Todo
my
normal.
life exactly the
Lo
way
veo
it's
todo como
supposed to be.
estaba antes, ¿no? En la idea de
My
mucha
life is
gente.
normal. I am Everything will be fine.
Hostia, el juego este está muy bien pensado, tío.
Okay.
Estoy flipando con el juego.
Stanley began screaming. Please, someone, wake me up. My name is Stanley. I have a boss, I have an office. I am real. Please, just someone tell me I am real. I must be real. I must be. Can anyone hear my voice? Who am I? Who am I? And everything went black.
No quiero mirar.
This is the story of a woman named Mariella. Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, gathered her belongings, and walked to her place of work. But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town talking and screaming to her, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. And although she would soon turn to go call for an ambulance, for just a few brief moments, she considered the strange man. He was obviously crazy. This much she knew. Everyone knows what crazy people look like. And in that moment, she thought to herself how lucky she was to be normal. I am sane. I am in control of my mind. I know what is real and what isn't. It was comforting to think this, and in a certain way, seeing this man made her feel better. But then she remembered the meeting she had scheduled for that day, the very important people whose impressions of her would affect her career, and by extension, the rest of her life.
Mete hasta la mujer esa, ¿no? Así como por la cara, ¿no?
Only a moment that she stood
A ver.
staring down at the body, and then she turned and ran.
Se acabó. El final nunca es el final. Qué lechugas.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Madre mía, qué raro.